Welcome, family, to another conversation from Love and Action Network. I'm Dr. Flo. Around here, we believe that love is more than something we say. Love is something we practice. It is something we create. It is something we put into action. And one of the ways we put love into action is by making room for people to tell the truth about who they are, what they are creating, what they're discovering, and what they are bringing into the world. Today, we're going somewhere fascinating. We're talking about creativity. We're talking about spirituality. We're talking about wonder. We're talking about ethics, integrity, intuition, art, travel, and what happens when somebody who has spent a great deal of time creating privately decides maybe it's finally time to let the world see what I've been carrying. My guest today is Delana Luna. Delana describes herself as a spirit-led artist who works across disciplines and explores myth, magic, ancestral lines, the collective unconscious, and alternate dimensions through her creative practice. Her academic journey has moved through moral philosophy, metaphysics, creative writing, and visual arts. And there was one phrase in Delana's introduction that immediately caught my attention. She wants to re-enchant people with the world. I love that because there are plenty of forces teaching us to become cynical. There are plenty of reasons to become numb. But what if creativity could teach us how to see again? Delana Luna, welcome to Love and Action Network.
Thank you. That's an amazing intro. I want to play it back to myself every morning.
It's you. It's all you. It's exciting. So we'll start today. Before we talk about what you create, I want people to meet the person behind the work. So, who is Delana Luna when nobody is asking you for that fabulous bio, resume, credentials, and explanation? Who are you?
Who am I? To be honest, most of the time I still feel like a 5-year-old. Um, I've still got that same mix of feeling like uh, I'm as old as a mountain and that I've been newly put on the earth, like things surprise me and yeah, fill me full of wonder all the time about the natural world. But then I'm also chronically naive. And I don't seem to be able to get over it. I think that I have this really childlike way of looking at the world, and it definitely gets me into trouble because I'm an old woman now. But
Right.
I think it also plays into why I can keep on creating in the way that I do.
Powerful, powerful, powerful. When did you first realize in your life, now that you're a quote unquote old woman now, but us old souls, we've been old since we were like 6 or 7 years
Yeah.
old, truly. When did you first realize in your life that you experienced the world differently than other people?
Mm, it would have been in primary school, when I would have been trying to talk about, like the plant spirits and things that I thought were completely normal, especially about interactions in nature. And when everybody is young, I think that everybody has more access. Well, I don't just think, it's a thing. Everybody as a child has more access to the magic of the world. And I I would get quite excited to share in this way with people. And then I realized very quickly that what I was talking about would go too far. So they would want to stop at a point and I would be like, oh my God, great. This is something that, that I'm excited about. And I'm going to tell you about this experience that I had. And I could see them pull back from me. And adults would get, like I could see them do that thing where they would get very interested for a minute and then they would question me and then it would become dismissive because they would either become fearful or just tell me, that I had an overactive imagination.
Hmm. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, this is the phrase that I heard a lot.
This is why the great magnet has brought us together because I have deep resonance with this and that glazed over look that happens in an
Yeah.
adult's eyes. when you're pushing them to the extreme of their belief system and their imagination, it's like, wait, now I put my fence up 30 years ago. You don't have that fence. What's going on with that?
Yeah. Or it
Yeah.
reminds them of something that happened to them when they were a child. And because when you're, I'm going to use a term that you, when you're naturally psychic, I'm just going to say it like that. Um, and also, I think that a lot of people that are psychic are very good at reading micro expressions, which can be good and bad, especially as a child when you're not used to complex, emotions and conversations. Um, you will say something, and your brain is making these connections for you. So while you're telling them about a spiritual experience that you've had, your brain will will say to you, mention, this one particular detail, and that detail will really resonate with that adult, like you've picked it out of their brain, and that frightens them. Well, it frightens most people. And as someone that is psychic, and I think a lot of people that are sensitive or psychic would experience this at a certain point in your life. You have to really manage what it is you say to people because, one, if you have tapped into something that you have in common and they feel like you've been like reading their mind or whatever, that's not very nice for them, so it's understandable that they would pull back a little. So you have to practice a lot of discernment in your communication in a world that's already put you in the weird box. So it's hard.
Oh, I found my soul sibling in Norway. Let's talk about you as an artist who walks between worlds. Something fascinating about your description of yourself is that you don't describe yourself uh, cr- uh, merely as a creative that's making things. You describe yourself as someone who, in a sense, goes somewhere, encounters something, and then brings those stories back. So, when you say that you walk between worlds in your work, what does that mean to you?
Um, okay, I don't want to appropriate terms from cultures. My heritage is Italian and Nordic, so I'm going to try and keep to those kinds of terminologies. But the term "walk between worlds" is used by any kind of mystic, for any kind of culture. All cultures will have people that walk between worlds that live in their society. And I think that if you look at an interview with an artist, a writer, or a painter, or whatever, a lot of the time when they're asked where their ideas come from, they describe being able to tap into this collective unconscious. And walking between worlds is an intentional use of moving into that collective unconscious of humanity, but also being aware of the fact that you live in a world where the table, rocks, trees have sentience, they have personality, they have their own stories to tell you if you can listen to them, and that you share the earth. You share the earth with all of these sorts of spirits and energies, and a myriad of different things that live in a parallel space to you. So it's uh, demonstrating being able to have one foot in either place. And to me, one of the most powerful things that you can do with that power is become a storyteller. So you can weave the two together.
Powerful, powerful. In your storytelling, do certain symbols, archetypes, stories, or images repeatedly appear in your stories? Are there things that consistently come up for you?
It's a funny question because I was thinking about this just the other day, especially in my writing. But all of my work is centered around mystery. And I think that that's mystery. Yeah, I think that that's a wonderful way to re-enchant people because you're introducing something that can't be explained, and the whole purpose of it is that it can't be explained. And the rationality of the human mind then has to come up against something where you're introduced to these concepts of um, surrender. You don't have control over what's happening. You might never have control over what's happening. Doesn't make it any less beautiful, doesn't make it any less valid, doesn't mean that it's any less there. But the way that you get to interact with it is limited. And, the best way to deal with those situations is gratitude. But what I find comes up for me in my continuous storylines is redemption. So it's a character or a concept or something that is blocked. It's stuck in the mud, and it encounters this sense of mystery, and through that finds liberation. And if we're going to talk about, like really like key underlying themes, a lot of my stories have that thread, that concept.
You're taking me off the path as you commonly do. You're one of these people that I can go exploring through the jungle of life with. Just to, it's not in my notes, but I want to pause and talk a bit about what redemption means to you, your personal definition of redemption,
Sure.
and what it can mean for the collective if they tap into that redemptive flow. It's not in my notes, but I feel called right now in the mystery of life, and as we surrender to the infinite, to talk about redemption and its the essence of it.
Sure. Um, I think for an individual, and this is just my opinion, but it has to do with ridding yourself of this existential angst that everybody seems to be born with. I believe that there are certain things that exist in the world now in the way that they do, like depression and some mental health issues, and a certain brand of violence and cruelty that exists because uh, we're destroying the natural world and we're connected to the natural world. And the way that we're trying to make it, okay for ourselves to be destroying the natural world is to disassociate or to separate from it. But as the forests die, as the animals become extinct, as things are taken over by plastic, and other human inventions that create this divide, I believe it does something to our psyche. I think that it creates a certain kind of depression that is, that you can't get past it as a human being. So redemption for the individual is finding a way that you can still be you in whatever you're doing. It doesn't matter what, profession you have or what kind of house you live in or anything like that, but a way that you can reconnect back into the world, but also manage the fact that it makes you desperately sad. I believe that every single person, even if they would say that they don't care, they are desperately sad that dolphins die in nets and that pollution covers beaches, because it's inescapable, because it's part of us dies when that happens. And for the collective, I think that redemption lies in joining together on anything that regenerates the natural world. And that's like my hill, and I'll die on it.
I love it. I love it. Sounds like what I teach in Love and Action Network, that some of us, if not all of us, are chronically depressed because we're living in a world that could function better and
Yeah.
could we could all uplift and help one another, and there's so much happening under capitalism, as I call it,
Yep.
that causes people to rip each other apart and to find differences that are not real and that are not there. And so to be awake in the world is to be in a chronic state of depression about what could be and what we're not allowing, and
Yep.
learning how to find peace in the midst of the chaos, I feel is a deep part of the spiritual work.
Yeah, I agree. To do what you can. So, and I say this all the time to people when I'm doing readings or whatever. Think about the decision that you would make if your deathbed was tomorrow. how are you going to feel about what it is that you're doing now if you knew that you were going to die tomorrow? And I'm not talking about like some glorious, like, oh, YOLO, I'm going to get hit by a truck tomorrow. I'm talking about like, if you could go from now to the end of your life, be old and sick in bed and feel death coming for you, right? You're going to address things that you never let in, things that you regret, things that you wish that you'd done differently. And so, what I say to people is, what can you fix now? What can you change now so that you don't have that regret on your deathbed? So that your eternal soul, so that your chance to, like, when you go back into the collective, that you're not, collecting all of this like karmic junk or whatever. And even if you don't believe in any of that, just so that you can have a peaceful death, because we're all going to die, like it's coming. So yeah, I just try and encourage people to think about what can you do for your future self to alleviate that pain on your deathbed, to have peace.
Powerful, powerful. Got to push forward, even though I could
Sure.
stay right here in this divine brine with you for another 24 hours with those dogs. Introduce someone was one of our producers, Tara, is in the comments screaming about the puppies. Could you introduce the puppies to us?
Sure. This is Akos and Tria, their brother and sister. I found four puppies just thrown in the bin on Greece, and I rehomed two of them, and now these guys live with me.
And they are so loved and lovable. So yeah, there's your introduction to the puppies. Producer Tara, one of our lighthouses in the network. She was not going to rest until we.
Yay, Tara.
Yes, 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 yes. So, in your submission to our producers, you talked about something that I want to spend some time with. You said that your aim is to re-enchant the reader with the world and to help people reawaken to their primitive sense of wonder. We talked about that a little earlier. I think that's powerful because a lot of adulthood can train the wonder out of us, and we start
Hmm.
asking, is this useful, is this profitable, can I monetize it? And sometimes we stop asking like about the extraordinary. So like what does an enchanted life look like for Delana Luna?
My enchanted life, um, not fulfilling any kind of societal norm, um, not having a regular job, um, filling my environment full of whimsical shit that I never got to have as a child to heal my inner child, but also just so that I get tickled every day, to just do things for the sake of it. But I also have a very deep, um deep with such a nothing word, I'm sorry, I have a very strong connection to nature and land spirits, that has been with me since I was a child. And part of my life re-enchanted is being able to, as an adult, not be afraid to just be that person, to say hello to a bird that's just spoken to me, even if I'm in a street full of people, to touch a tree that's, reaching out to me. Because, yeah, you have to be polite. You can't just go around, like touching everything. It's got to be consensual. But yeah, my enchanted world is not being afraid to show that I can talk to everything around me.
Mm-hmm. One with all that is. Uh, I love the feeling. I'm putting this in the flow frame. I love the feeling of touching everything in the universe and pressing myself into the universe while also feeling the universe press itself into me.
Yes.
That's helped me just make my aura as large as the sun.
Yeah, you just gave me I got a clear sentience of your feeling of how that makes you feel just then. So yeah, I'm a bit teary.
It's just like it's just woo! Ah. Okay. Why do you think people lose their sense of wonder. You know, we're over here feeling the universe press into us. We're over here shooting our aura from Norway into Savannah, Georgia, in the States. We're able to tap in. Why do you think people lose that?
If I may be pragmatic for a moment, I think it's because some very clever people, and you're talking about this capitalism, I think that there are people that are very motivated to possess and to have power. And they're also people that just happen to be very smart. And I don't think that there's a lot of education. And a lot of people don't realize that what they're doing on a day to day basis is they are trying to get the drugs from their brain that their brain naturally produces. So this gives me dopamine, this gives me serotonin, this gives me dopamine, this gives me adrenaline, this gives me endorphins, like all of this kind of stuff. And without the education behind the fact that that's why they have these preferences, that's why they like something, that's why they chase something, that's why they want something, people just get stuck in this rut of being like, yeah, but I feel better when I've had my 50 hits of dopamine a day, and it's without being aware that that's how your brain works. Of course you can get sucked into caring about something that's destructive, because everybody's a frightened baby, like nobody's got the answers. And unfortunately, because your brain is so plastic, when you're growing up, if you get your dopamine from being cruel or buying things online, stealing, whatever, you create that neural pathway. And unless you are going to actually teach yourself about how the human brain works, about how the world works, then of course you're just going to keep on going for that thing.
Mm-hmm. And if somebody's out there and they were to say to you, Luna, I used to be curious, I used to create, I used to dream, and somewhere along the way, I lost part of myself, where would you point them to begin to reclaim and recover?
That's a really interesting question. And the first thing that came to mind intuitively was give away your shit. Start giving your shit away. And if you really want to change, give away all of your shit, sell it, and just go somewhere where you're not you anymore. And highly recommended, go volunteer in a shelter or an animal shelter or in a Buddhist monastery or whatever, and just live with nothing for a minute and find out who you are.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I used to go to monastery every weekend when I was living in the chaotic New York City full time. And just being alone with your thoughts and stripping away some of those distractions that we have in our lives, it can be very, very centering and peace giving.
But I think it can also be terribly frightening for some people, and that you've got to go through that. I don't.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people um, enjoy these dopamine hits and enjoy the way that the world is structured at the moment because they don't have to be alone with themselves. Because when they're alone with themselves, what happens is that they remember whatever their biggest pain is. And it doesn't have to be anything, hugely wild. It could just be something that happened to them as a child, something that they miss or whatever. But whenever there's not distractions, the human brain will go towards trauma because it wants to fix it.
Yep. 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 Yep.
So healing, everything's healing, 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 and it never ends.
I think that there's an encouraging vibe in knowing that the healing never completes. We're going to be doing it for the rest of our lives, perhaps many lifetimes, and that could be a fun adventure.
Yeah, and also I think it takes the sting out of it, because if you've got something that you're being super avoidant about, And I know that this sounds a bit like counterintuitive, but if you just look at that as like one of your myriad of problems, then it kind of becomes less, you know, and it's like you can just collect them. Do you know what I mean? You're like, oh, I healed that one, and now that opened up to that one, and I healed that one, and blah blah blah, and you can just sort of change your thinking about it instead of being like, oh, I don't have the energy to to delve into that. I don't have the strength to whatever. You can just do a bite, a little bit, because you're going to have to keep on taking bites, just like you have to sleep every day and you have to eat every day. You have to heal every day to grow every day.
Speaking of growth, we are all growing physically, emotionally, spiritually. Part of your work that you explore, I love that he is just having his own adventure.
He's having a good time.
I
He's
love
very sensitive, so he's definitely jamming off the conversation.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
You do spiritual consulting, tarot, runes. You talked about your clair abilities. Um, let's talk about the spirituality because it clearly interacts with your creative practice. People use the word create spirituality, excuse me, spirituality to describe 1,000 different things. What does spirituality mean for you? Does it deepen your art? Does the art deepen the spirituality? How's that woven in?
Oh my goodness, that's such a big question. But because they're both things that I was born with, the creativity, and I mean, spirituality is a word that I use because it seems to be, like common language, and we all need language to be able to communicate with each other. So it's just a terminology. But when I talk about spirituality, it's really it is to do with clair abilities, being able to talk to spirit, spirits. But for me, it also has a really strong tie with personal growth, integrity, ethics, and being able to live in such a way that you are constantly challenging yourself to, and this is going to sound a bit cliched, but be a better person, and be a better person in the kind of way that is specific for you. So everybody's got their own makeup, everybody's got their own problems, everybody's got their own childhood trauma, everybody's got their own personality. So trying to level up in a way that is authentic, um, I personally think is really difficult. It's much easier to sell out and become a version. And as young people, especially as teenagers, I think we try on versions. And sometimes people find a version that they think, really sort of makes their demons go quiet. And for me, spirituality is about opening yourself over and over and over again. And yeah, just really trying to work with what you've got to uh and again, cliche, but become the best person you can be. But can we think about it in terms of like a sci-fi novel or something that, like, you want to elevate, like who can I be if I let myself really be myself? Because it seems to have been proven over and over and over again that what the world needs is for us to individuate as much as possible, to be proud of who we are and that separate thing that we bring.
Powerful, 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 powerful. You also talk about something that I don't see a lot of us woo woo, spiritual, you know, communing with the divine types talk about. You talk about something called ethical spirituality.
Sure.
What do you
Yeah. I
what
mean,
are you
like,
talking
well,
about?
there's different, there's different intellectual branches of spirituality, like critical spirituality, ethical spirituality. And I mean, to me, all spirituality is ethical. But there are a lot of people that um I feel like I don't want to say this. There are a lot of people that are spiritually talented that don't have very good ethics. They're
Oh,
not,
let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
well, they don't run naturally with each other. So you can have spiritual gifts. And I mean, the world's seen this over and over again, right? With people that are extremely charismatic, with gurus, with whatever. But just because you've got spiritual gifts doesn't necessarily mean that you automatically like use your power for good, And that's part of the human experience. And to me, the differentiation between the human experience and the spiritual experience is that you're constantly challenging yourself as to whether or not you're following ego, desire, whatever. And it doesn't mean that you don't do things that satisfy a healthy ego, or that you don't give yourself something that fulfills a desire. It just means that you're aware of what it is that you're doing at the time, and trying to practice, what's that really cool word? Ahimsa, no harm. So you're trying to create less harm every time you do something and be more aware of consequences, accountability, vulnerability, all this stuff that everybody's talking about all the time. You just have to keep on challenging yourself as to whether or not you're bringing that into all of your decisions, especially if you're talking about interacting with a spiritual sense. So, for an example, if you're running a woman's circle and you want to be teaching women about how to reconnect with whatever, insert, like spiritual term here, you have to be impeccable in the way that you run that. You can't keep somebody's money, because otherwise you would lose out. You can't um, give somebody less time because you don't like their profession or their personality or whatever. Like, you have to be able to disseminate and pull those things apart. And for me, that's a big part of ethical spirituality, is that you need to be able to have that objective mind where you can observe what you're doing.
Whew. Everything we've talked about today is like a dense like sandwich. Like you know sandwiches where you build the sandwich up so big that you can't really take one bite of the
Sure.
whole sandwich, so you're like kind of like coming at it from the side. And
Well,
so
you're asking me very big questions.
I know the universe is big. The universe is big. Oh my gosh. All right, rapid fire here. Rapid fire
Okay.
philosophy
Okay.
round. Try to give me one answer if you can, and your immediate instinct. Doesn't have to be a perfect answer. Beauty or truth?
They're the same thing.
Okay. Talent or discipline?
You need one for the other to work.
Intuition or evidence?
Ooh, intuition.
Tradition or experimentation?
Experimentation.
Solitude or community?
Ooh, for me, solitude.
Mystery or certainty?
Oh, mystery. God damn, every time.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta stop. I gotta stop and like ask you, like, you've actually primed my inner well into this mystery thing today.
Hooray.
Yeah, it's like I will make myself personally anxious because I want certain outcomes, or I'll convince myself that certainty is what I really enjoy. But I'm
Uh-huh.
actually a person who likes the mystery more. But I will sometimes like talk myself out of, you know, I'll talk myself out of that in favor of predictability, because sometimes I condition myself to believe that predictability is safer. Do you find a
Yeah, but
safety?
this is what I was just about to say, is
Mm-mm.
that maybe you need your mystery with a side serving of safety, like they're not mutually exclusive. And maybe, yeah, there's something in that for you to look at, because I love safety and security, which is probably why I chose solitude. Because there are things that I deeply long for about community, but because of my life experience so far, it's easier for me to trust, like nature and animals and the spirits and whatever, than it is for me to go in amongst people. Like, I got to be ready for that.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. If you had to choose between being understood or being authentic,
Oh, I have to say authentic, yeah.
mhm. And do you think that authentic has turned into like a dirty word in the world because people are performing it so much and spiritual people are performing it and what have you?
Something that I was talking to someone about just the other day was the difference between appropriation and misappropriation. And I think that a lot of spiritual terms over the past 5 years have been misappropriated, whereas before they were being appropriated for all of these different sorts of fun things, because you can use language in, all of these wonderful explosive ways, right? But at the moment, I think that there are key words that confuse, that they muddy the waters of what we're all talking about because they've been misappropriated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like they've also turned community into a four-letter word when, like, it's like I tell my team and I tell the community all the time, I do not pick my own berries. I do not pick my own nuts. I've never roasted my own coffee a day in my life, yet I have a cup every morning. I have to be in this interdependence thing because that's how we thrive, helping
Yeah.
one another. And to call community this awful thing because you've been betrayed by people or maybe not embraced or felt like you belong is doing a disservice of actually belonging to the collective and belonging to humanity, I feel.
Yeah, I totally know what you're talking about. And something really interesting that came up for me once in therapy was a woman said to me, like, when you read a book or you have a piece of an art that you like, or you research somebody that you feel like, you're really interested in, that you can think about that person as your friend. And it blew my mind, right? Like, I can think about these people that I've never met as my friends. I might not ever meet them, but they are part of the world that I'm very glad to be a part of, like things that make my heart sing. So yeah, I think you're right.
All right, so we're landing this. I should have booked us for 3 hours of a session because we get on like a house on fire. They
Yeah, it's
say,
great.
I don't want anybody's house to burn down, but that's what we do. Um, we have a lot of creatives that listen to our podcast and that are members of our global network. And uh, a lot of us describe ourselves, as you describe yourself very candidly, as a hermit introvert or moving from being a hermit introvert into getting your backlog out into the world. And so, uh, what do you think causes people to keep the hermit in the cave?
Well, it can be fear, or it could be because you're in the middle of a process. S- mm, Um, Things take time to come out, and if you're birthing, maybe you just want the privacy to birth. But I can say categorically, a lot of my hermitude comes from unresolved trauma, fear, and insecurity, and the things that I deal with all the time. And the funny thing is, if you met me, you'd think I was an extrovert because that's what I do when I go out in the world, like I'm ready for it. I'm not pretending, but I show my joy most of the time, not all of the time. But then I need that hermit time to recharge, because I go out and I'm joyful and I'm misunderstood for my authenticity a lot. And then I need to go home and just be quiet. Otherwise, my brain goes into a state of like maybe trying to change myself to fit in, or trying to people please and soothe and appease and whatever, so that I don't feel constantly overwhelmed.
Yeah, finding that balance
Yeah.
between being the hero in your story that's leaping over buildings and also the hermit that's able to recharge. I'm actually not as outgoing and as big, so to speak, as I can be on camera and on stage and in my professional life. I really enjoy peaceful flutes playing over a nice cup of
Yeah.
chamomile. That's my idea.
Fruits and chamomile. That's excellent. That should be like your biography title.
Yeah, that's my idea of going to the club. When people say turn up in the club, I'm like, where's the chamomile? You know.
Yeah.
So I want to highlight before we go your business today. And we've talked about you as a person. We've talked about your philosophy. We've talked about your spirituality. We've talked about your creativity. I want to ask you, what are you currently building in the world right now? And what kinds of people do you believe mostly resonate with your work?
Uh, I think that the people that are uh, looking for me are other spiritual practitioners, especially other people that are doing things that are ceremonial or ritualistic, because I make personalized ceremonial robes and ritual tools. And it is something that I have discovered uh, I've been doing my whole life, but now I know what I'm doing and I can do it with intention and I can tune it to certain practitioners. So at the same time, while I've got my academic arts practice running, which is super fiction, if anybody wants to look up what that is, which is very interesting. Um, I'm making these personalized objects for other practitioners or performers, or maybe somebody that just really wants to have a statement piece that's going to turn into an heirloom that they give their daughter or their niece or whatever, or somebody that's feeling like they need a piece of a magical object to really express their main character energy, so it doesn't have to be for somebody that's a spiritual practitioner, but I think that people that are running rituals and ceremonies uh, are the people that are going to be mostly interested in what it is that I do.
Amazing. And they can find you online at the Museum of Magical Objects.
Exactly. Yep. So
Amazing.
website, Instagram, threads, it's all the same.
Amazing. I like to close these conversations by bringing everything back to action and love in action, because insight matters, inspiration matters, art matters. But love ultimately asks us to do something. So I'm going to give you a few final questions. Don't overthink them, rapid fire. What are you learning to let go of?
Identity.
What are you learning to trust?
People.
Mhm. Who deserves more wonder in this world?
Oh my God. Do you know what my brain just did? Donald Trump.
Mhm.
That is just the weirdest thing ever. I don't really think that guy deserves anything, but sure, if what a strange thing my brain just did. Oh my God. Maybe I can just extend that to MAGA.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, listen, I'm with you there, and I'm tapped in. They and he deserve more wonder because they see the world in such a constriction. Like
Yeah.
they're convinced that they know everything about people who are different than them, and they're convinced that they know how poor people should
They're
live.
just
And
so small. They're so small and wonder is so big.
yeah, yeah. So if we gave them, or if they felt that they believed in or deserved more wonder, it would loosen the grip on everybody
Yeah.
who has to deal with the judgment and the poor decisions that are made, not on behalf of the collective, but on people who want to belong to othering and prejudging folks for no reason. Yeah,
For no reason. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
maybe it would be the same as if there was just some kind of like on mass psychedelic therapy, like
Oh
how
yeah.
much would they give a shit after that?
Ship them the psychedelics for the wonder. Like everybody in a red hat. Here's more wonder and some psychedelics for you. Loosen your grip on life.
Yeah, chill the fuck out, guys.
Exactly. Exactly. What would you tell the creative today who's hiding under their bed?
Just do one thing.
Mhm. And love in action looks like.
Oh, being kind to animals, like always, every animal ever, teaching children to be kind to animals, and um, compliments, random compliments.
Random compliments. Don't they get you everything?
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing. It's like the world is so deprived of genuine, authentic love and well, the outpouring of love. I don't want to perpetuate that love is scarce, but because folks aren't just pouring heaps of it onto each other, I
Yeah,
found that just giving a genuine compliment just brightens people's days. Like
I
they've
say to
been,
people that I think that the world is complement deficient, like an
yeah,
iron deficiency or whatever, so you have to,
yeah.
wherever you see it, you have to give them. And because at the moment I am asexual and I have been for quite a few years now, I love giving people compliments and I just put my everything into it because I'm not afraid that they're going to be like, oh, that person's coming on to me because I know that I'm not. So it just comes out of me, and I just give people like the full force of like how they look to me. And yeah, it's great. You can tell that it might keep them going for the next week or whatever.
Yeah. My favorite one to give is little behind the scenes on Dr. Flo. Y'all can try this out in your zip code. When authentic, when it's delivered authentically, and you're feeling that vibe from a store clerk or a bank teller or someone in your family, when you deliver the line, and it's not like a pickup line or anything like that, but when you can authentically say to someone, as I'm about to say to you, Luna, you are easy to love.
Oh, no.
You are.
Thanks.
You are easy to love. And that one has taken me far. You can't say it to someone who's cursing you out or like it doesn't land with
Sure.
someone who is trying to ruin your day or rain on your parade. But when you are in the presence of someone who is easy to love, even in the moment, if they're the person at the hamburger shop or the ice cream shop, when you can land that with authenticity, it really warms the internal space of you and
Yeah.
also warms the energy of the connection. And so, once again, you are easy to love. I want to thank you for bringing your curiosity, creativity, your experience, and your perspective into this space today. And to our family that's watching, I want to leave you with something. Maybe you don't need a new dream. Maybe you don't need to look at the world that you already inhabit with new eyes. Maybe your creativity isn't asking you to become someone else. Maybe it's just asking you to notice what you stopped noticing. Maybe, as Luna has demonstrated today, wonder isn't childish. Maybe wonder is one of the ways that we remain fully alive. And if you've
Yeah.
been sitting out there on something that you've created, a manuscript, a painting, a song, an idea, a business, a story, a calling, something strange, something beautiful, something that you don't quite know how to explain, perhaps your next act of courage isn't perfecting it. Perhaps your next act of courage is allowing yourself to be seen as Luna did today. And so I thank you, Luna, for coming to us from Norway.
Thank
And
you. It was very pleasurable.
it was amazing. It was amazing. And thank you for bringing your dogs.
They're stars. They're
They
little
are
royalty.
they are stars, and so are you. Everybody watching, you're loved always. You're lovable always. And there's something here and something inside of you that's worth discovering. And so until next time, stay in your power, stay in your joy, stay loved and lovable, and we'll see you very, very soon around the network. Take care.
Thank you.